I'm Robert Cardoza, and you're watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. I'm with my guest, James Conaway, the co-founder of Conaway & Conaway, and the president of that firm. His other co-founder is his wife, Lorraine, who I actually begged to come here today, but she said, no, Jim is the guy that talks for the company. So we've got Jim here. When we left, we were talking about how they analyze businesses to make them more efficient, to save taxes, to create some of the privileges that you have under different entities to create a retirement fund or a security fund for you. So Jim, let's move those savings. We talked just briefly about assets and keeping those assets separately and getting a double bang for your buck and saving some tax money.
Yes.
But there's another way to do that as well on the corporate side, is to create some kind of benefits.
Absolutely. Depending on the corporation, the benefits can be quite extensive.
Right.
One of my favorite benefits are the ancillary benefits, like
Oh, wait, say that again.
Ancillary benefits. Do you like that? Ancillary.
It sounds nasty.
Well, it sounds like fun.
Yeah.
But
Sounds like a
taking
prostate exam.
tax deductions for buying supplements,
Yeah.
things of that nature, executive bonus and privilege plans. One of the things I ran across just recently is giving out safety awards.
Sure.
There are safety awards that you can actually pay, and if you're a one-person corporation, you get to pay yourself.
But you want to be a little careful when you do that from a tax standpoint. While it reduces the profit from the corporation, it does transfer income issues to you under those benefits. And I know that there are benefits like key man policies and insurance
Absolutely.
policies, things like that, that you can do under the corporation that are tax deductible to the corporation and are not taxable to you.
Yes.
That you can draw upon in future years. And maybe you could talk about that, because that gets us from the business side to the personal side. But before we do that, you and I, during the break, we were talking about partnerships. And I said, partnerships are doomed to failure, generally, in my opinion. There's some probably that exist. But you have to set them up so that you deal with that time when you and your partner don't agree on the way this business should run.
Yes.
And you have to come to some terms on how do you buy one out from the other, and how do you finance that, and what's the value of the company.
Value of the company is usually the biggest pain point.
And it creates a real issue. Now that we put that aside, because we both agree we don't like partnerships very much.
Yeah, no.
That's
Very
an entity,
dangerous ship to sail.
That's an entity that's going to be changed.
Yes.
Right? Now, let's get into these bottom line profits, and let's get them into your personal life.
Right.
You've created retirements, you've created bonuses, you've created key man policies, you've created life insurance issues that you can draw, whole life that you can draw on down the road without getting into detail. If they want to get into detail, they can reach you at Conaway & Conaway at...
Well, they can call us at 888-266-2929, or they can email me at james@Conaway, CONAWAYAND,
And they can also go to your website at
ConawayandConaway.com.
See? So you can find out all about it. If you forgot these contact information, you can just go right to their website. It's an easy one. It's ConawayandConaway.com. Now, Jim, so when we get this money from whatever entity it's in.
Once the money is moved out of the corporate world and now it's in the personal world.
And we've changed a lot of things to create bottom line discretionary income.
Yes.
And we've created the benefits that are deductible to this entity that you're not going to have to pay tax on, and move it someplace that you still have availability to it. So now, let's move now into that personal side where you are moving away from the company, and it's an exit strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, one of the things that's funny to me is that most business owners assume that their children are going to want the business. And it doesn't happen that way.
I got to stop you for just a minute. I was raised on a dairy farm. And my dad had my whole life.
Really?
My whole life. My dad had an opportunity to sell it. And one day we were walking out toward the barn from the house, and my dad says, hey, Bob, he says, I got an offer on the dairy. I got an opportunity to do that. He says, but if you want the dairy, I won't sell it. So I need to know what you're thinking. And I said, sell it. Sell it. I spent my whole life doing that. That's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you move in another direction. The good part about selling it is it helped pay for my education, so that was a good thing. So anyway, when you were talking and I interrupted you, I'm sorry, Jim.
So one of the things we always want to do is we want to plan the exit on the business around the family dynamics. Once that's done, we're talking about how the income can be most tax efficient to mom and or dad. So we want to make sure that we have a balance. You've seen the pie charts,
Sure.
the traditional approach. I like to take it one step further. I like to look at the tax implications. I don't want 100% of the money coming out of some pension that's all taxable. I want to use some from the tax, some from the tax-free, some of the tax-advantaged. I want to mix it so that I'm getting the best possible results. In a perfect scenario, $150,000 a year income with only 50 or 60 of it being taxable, that's a very nice
deal.
tax bracket.
Yeah, because that's a whole lot more than,
Yes.
when you think about it that way.
It don't matter what you make, it matters what you keep, right?
You know what? I've always said, it's not being able to show your 1040 to your neighbors and say, look what I've done. It's all about lifestyle.
Yes.
Macy's doesn't tell Gimbals because it could be a problem. Even if you're doing nothing wrong, it could bring you under scrutiny. Mm-hmm. The truth is that you need good, qualified planners, or a team, as you say,
Yes, absolutely.
to analyze the business portion and the personal portion for you to really be successful. Once you and I were talking here a few weeks back, we talked about the difference between rich and
Yes.
wealth.
Yes.
The difference being that you're rich when you actually are making a lot of money per month.
That's right.
You're wealthy when you've accumulated a lot of assets.
Yes. And one of the things we want to do is make sure that you have an asset plan for you and your family and the next generation. The whole thing about the estate tax, I've always been laughing about that because for the last 15 years, there's been techniques available. You don't have to pay the estate tax.
Right.
So I don't know what all the uproar has been about. I'm just kind of like, okay.
I used to pride myself in dealing in the gray area of the tax code. That's not an illegal area. It's just generally an unchallenged area where you can really seriously limit or reduce the tax liabilities of the average taxpayer. And those are things that the average guy doesn't go out and find out about because they think you got to be a Bill Gates to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to thank you, Jim, for coming on board. You came at the last minute. It's a favor to me. I really appreciate it. I want to remind everybody they can find out all about you at ConawayandConaway.com. I want to remind everybody to follow me on Facebook, Google, Twitter, all those places. And I want to remind you also, you're watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. Coming up next is the good news and the bad news. I'm Robert Cardoza.